Hi there, Ray Cumby here with Fit for Art Patterns, and we are going to look at the pattern work for lengthening the bust length in the Carpe Diem. We've talked already about bust width and bust length, and I've shown you how to shorten the bust length, and now we're going to add the bust length. I have my mock-up here, and this gal does need her bust length to be shortened, and I've pinned that out. If she needed it to be lengthened, her top would be sitting probably a little bit more like this, and you would be able to see these lines curving. She might be getting a little flare here, and we often find that we have a curved hemline if we need extra bust length. So I'm going to show you how to add the bust length and even add a second dart if you need to do that. If you like the width of the AB, but you need a second dart for your bust length to be accommodated. So sit back and relax and watch this enticing video about making bust adjustments. We're now going to add bust length into the pattern. If you need that extra bust length, if perhaps the front of the garment is curving up at the hemline, or you feel like it just doesn't have enough length, you would be able to add bust length, and often we find that is necessary in the CD front because you don't, that is when you have more issues with bust length. But we will look at it in both the AB and the CD. We're going to start with the CD, and the first thing we're going to do is add a little bit of width to the, a little bit of bust length, not width, to the lower dart, and then secondly we will also add a little bit into the top dart, which would mean that you needed a lot more. This pattern was traced off because I'm also going to use it when I show you how to make a little extra bust width in the next video. So you have here the medium, the large, and the extra large, and we're going to presume that we're going to go all the way to the extra large to do this adjustment, even though we have the medium shoulder drawn on here and the large and the extra large penciled in. So the way we're going to start is to cut across this line. So in the same way that when we took out bust length, we worked all the way across the pattern through the center of the dart, and we have that very helpful HBL there to help us. In this case, we are going to cut all the way across and add in all the way across. We have to add into the dart all the way to the center front so that we have an even adjustment. And so the first thing we're going to do is just tape down the bottom here of the pattern, of the paper, so that we have a nice flat pattern. And we've discussed this before. It's imperative that you keep your pattern flat and neat and that you work on a nice surface. And I have my tape dispenser here and my scissors, my paper scissors, and some extra paper. And I'm using a classic tan pattern paper as my addition, so we can see the adjustment. If you're working on a tan pattern, you might want to use white paper so you can see that adjustment. And the other thing I'm going to do is actually extend this HBL up here into the, the grain line, all the way up into the pattern, so we can match that up to the part we're putting back together. So we're going to add 3/8 of an inch into this bottom dart, and that is a random amount that I chose, but it's an amount that it works for many people. And so before we pull that new piece in, we're going to actually mark our 3/8 of an inch all the way across, so that we can make sure that we are making a nice smooth adjustment that keeps the pattern on grain and in good working order. And then we're going to pull down our pattern and we're going to match both the dot where we have the amount we have to take out and the grain line to the pattern, so that we know that we are doing the right thing. And then we're going to go backwards and find that dot here in the dart area itself, and it's right there, and we're going to mark it, tape it, and then we're going to come this way and find our mark here, and it is right here, perfectly in order. So we'll come down from here. Remember, we discussed it's great to use small pieces of tape, not large pieces of tape. It gives you a much cleaner edge. Okay, so we have now added dart length, bust length to the pattern, and we have to reshape the dart somewhat in order for it to work. And so we're going to put for ourselves a new dart point. We've severed that dart point, and we have to put a new one here, and it would be in exactly the same place unless you have determined that you need to move it somewhere else. If it needs to be longer or shorter, perhaps you would have decided that. And then we are going to connect here the new dart points to the old dart leg, so that we know when it comes into the side seam it will be right. And then we're going to fold the dart out and make sure we have the right amount here in our, so this is called truing the dart, making sure that it all lines up right here perfectly, and I believe that it will, and we will just extend that there. So this is your single dart, the lower dart with a little extra length in it. And if you found, once you had done this, that you still didn't have quite enough bust length, you had was much better than it was, but it wasn't quite enough, then you would create a new line here. We would draw a new line parallel to the old one. And where is my pencil? I'm going to draw it right here, and it is about 1 7/8 from where we cut the old one. Okay. And then we're going to cut across that too. And we're going to presume, and I'm going to use those paper scissors. There's not really any magic to what scissors you use. Many people like to avoid using their good fabric scissors on their paper patterns or on other things, and I totally understand that. And so now we're going to take another piece of paper, and we're going to tape it in here so that we have our pattern ready to go. And then we're going to extend that grain line so we can match up the two parts like we did before. On this one, we're just going to add a 1/4 inch. That will give us actually an entire 5/8 of an inch extra bust length, which is probably plenty. So I'm going to mark that 1/4 inch here at every spot that I did before, the two edges and the grain line, and then we're going to pull this down here to create the to maximize the second dart for the amount of bust length that you need. And we'll just tape this in place too. You see how easy this is when you're working on the paper. I know some people like to trace their patterns off onto, say, a Swedish tracing paper or something like that. And once you know that the pattern fits you, that is a great way to create a very permanent and lasting pattern. But if you are not sure whether what you're doing is exactly right, you might want to do it in paper. It all stays much more permanent in the paper. And then you can, and we're going to just complete this fold line here in the center front. We're going to create our new dart line again. Make a dot there in the center of our addition. Start here at the seam line and come up to make our new dart legs. And that dart is going to be bigger. It's going to be have more intake because it is giving you extra length here. And then we'll finish that side here with the truing it so that we know we have the right amount of extra paper there. So it will all fit neatly into the side seam as we would like for it to. Now, if you're in the AB front and you need a little bit of extra but not a lot, you can do one of two things. You can add it in through this dart as we did before, or in the way that we have created the CD front, you could give yourself a second dart that would allow you to disperse the extra, because this dart is plenty large enough as it is. So let's draw a second line here, and we'll use our notation from before and make it 1 7/8 inch part, and then we can just cut right across that and add a second dart. And we're going to presume that that second dart needs to be, I picked up the wrong scissors again. I'm going to move these this way so that I'm not concerned about them. And I'm going to add here into the second dart, and we're going to do the same thing we did before. Now you've watched me do it 3 times. You should be able to do it yourself. Just remember, take your time. You should never be in a hurry when you're doing pattern work. You should never be on a cluttered space. You want to be in a nice, fabulous, easy space. So we're going to add here 3/8 of an inch. Let's add a half. 3/8 doesn't give you very much dart, but an extra 1/2 inch. If that front was curling up ever so slightly, you felt like you needed just a little bit of extra, and we'll extend that grain line so we can put it all back together neatly. And here you go. And we're going to match up all those marks that we made. I did those in regular pencil and they're harder to see. But there we have them, and we'll match up. Right through here, this is really the tricky place to connect those grain lines, because the pattern in the shoulder is definitely moving. And so you need to be, it's moving in to fit the hollow of your upper above the bust where your chest is. And so we have that there. Now this will be a much smaller dart, but a small dart still is effective. And so we will find the bust point from the previous dart, build it into the center, and at the 5/8 inch, it should be at the line where you want it to be. And we're going to create that second dart, very small, but it is giving you that extra space you need in the top. And then we will true this, and we'll actually use this one. We'll use our scissors to true it, because this one is going to be a little more complicated. Again, because as we discussed, we have that shaping happening here in the shoulder. So I'm going to actually come in here, and this is the easiest way to create the truing of the dart, is to actually cut it after you've folded it. I'm suspecting my hands are going to be in the way and you're not going to be able to watch, but, and there we have our little bit of shaping in the seam so that the dart will sit perfectly in there. Thank you so much for watching this video about increasing the bust length in the Carpe Diem dress and tunic in either the AB or the CD front. I hope it has been useful for you, and that you will use this adjustment if you need to get a nuanced and better fit in your Carpe Diem dress or tunic. Happy pattern work and happy sewing!